Hello, and thanks for joining us on the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Gen Con and the gaming capital of the world, this is The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Established Facts. I'm Mike, the host, and I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves, starting with my left.
This is Big Don in the house.
Hey guys, this is Derek.
This is Princess Katie.
This is Rhaegar, and thank you for all the fish.
This is Dr. Deb.
This is Josh.
And this is Prime.
Miss Katie, you have something you want to say?
I think the moments has passed.
I don't know. I think I was informed by a listener that you're actually Baroness.
No. I'm back to being a princess.
Yes, but how are you a princess? Who's your king?
I don't need no king. I'm an independent woman who don't need no man.
Whoa. Till you're 40.
We probably should start this episode now, shouldn't we?
Why did I come back to this? So, Derek, I think you have some shameless plugs that you want to try and save us with.
Oh yeah, this is like totally shameless. It's without shame. It's everything. Yeah, I am still running the Kickstarter for my Universal Storytelling System. It is going to be completed on August 17th, which is right during Gen Con. So
That was well timed.
Totally.
We're going to have a dance party.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. And hopefully they'll get funded and so forth. So yes, please check it out and pledge if you can. So I'd appreciate it.
Awesome. So it has been brought to my attention what we are going to talk about today.
Yes, you had no say in it.
Could be. Well, I really didn't, but it could be extremely controversial.
Yeah.
If you follow anything that Derek posts on Facebook,
Which I don't, but I think it will be controversial because it's Derek.
Yes.
I try not to read
I
it all.
second that.
by classification, right? Okay, so we're going to do a versus topic of whether you revamp or remake a show that has kind of lost us some steam, or you just simply let a series die kind of a humble death. This is kind of touchy for the gaming universe.
I know. For the
There's
geek universe.
Yeah,
We were
yes.
passionate about this before we even started this ep.
Yes.
Okay.
So this could get a little animated. So be warned.
Turn down your volume.
We love you all.
And if we don't share your opinion on things, we don't hate you.
Right.
Please don't sue us.
I'm sure there's going to be people on both sides of the
There might even be people on the fence.
no man land.
right.
Yes, there might be some fence sitters.
Okay.
Yeah, it came about because I got another meme from a brown coat that said posted on my wall.
Oh, did they come back?
No. And they said the brown coats will rise again, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's been 10 years. Like seriously, drop it. so I posted on the Fear the Boot site. I was like, not the site, but on their Facebook page. I was like, look, it's been 10 years. The actors are older. They're all doing different things. Joss Whedon is a movie maker now, and this is just not going to happen. You guys need to just make peace with it and let it go. And then that started a flood of posts. One of which, I forget who it was, said, it suggested maybe they do something like a Next Generation where they do the same universe, different characters, that sort of thing. That's where the impetus of this whole thing came.
That actually came from Dan Rappinger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm interested, and we're going to go around and we're going to kind of talk about this, how everyone feels about the inevitable remakes, or just kind of letting a series end where it is, wherever it is that the writers or the networks decide that it's done. So we're going to start over here with Prime. And so, what do you think? Do you think it's okay for people to remake series over and over and over again, or do you think that you kind of lose the lackluster of the series and you should have just kind of left where it was rested?
Well, I'm leaning more towards the just, not beating a dead horse kind of a deal. Like, if a series is dead for whatever reason, regardless of whether it was a network's decision or the actual people doing the program. But at the same time, I'm kind of on the fence. It's dependent upon the program in and of itself. So,
for the most part, I don't
don't
like
even
it.
say it.
I don't like it when they try and do the same thing over and over, but I love it when they extend the story. Like the Next Generation concept. I love it when they extend and flesh out the story, but trying to repeat things over and over can be hard, and I'm even saying that as a fan of Sherlock. I don't know how many times you can do Sherlock Holmes as a TV series, but
So this dead silence is brought to you by Dr. Deb.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Someone flip on the signal. The doctor is in.
Yes, and the doctor is loading because I have so much in my head at the moment. I'm going to have to go with, I'm going to officially claim
Yes
the
or no?
fence sitter position. And it will be fleshed out further in discussions because I agree with actually both Josh has said. I think there are times in shows when let it rest, and there have been some reboots, for example, Star Trek, where they replay the exact same characters and were wildly successful. So I think it depends, and I think we need to keep discussion open.
Target locked.
Dr. Deb, MD,
D.O.
DO.
D.O.
That is neither a yes or a no. I would just like to point that out to you.
I claimed the fence sitter position. I am on the fence. Who's anybody going to sit here with me? Yeah, anybody?
Fail. So I'm going to say that good literary work will overcome whether a series is dead or not. If it's well written, it doesn't matter.
I'll join Deb on the fence because I agree there are some things that you should, redo, and there are some things that should just be left to rest. And my, logic with that is a time period thing. As Derek said, Firefly's been gone for 10 years. When Star Trek got rebooted, I mean, how long had it been since the original series was on? You either have to do it
50 years.
Yeah, you have to do it either almost immediately, like people did with Futurama, or wait an absurdly long amount of time, so it's not like beating a dead horse, like Prime said. Unless it's like Spider-Man and you're trying to erase the holy train wreck that is Spider-Man 3 from people's memory, then that's okay.
This is my vomit bucket right next to it for that one.
Matrix 2. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I say let the dead horse lie, and have it be an honorable death, or at least have it die in peace.
As surprising as it is for myself to say this, I actually have to agree with Derek. Because though I have been conflicted depending on the show, I think a lot of times the end-all result of when a show dies and why a show dies is usually fairly appropriate for not only what the network itself needs at that time, because obviously a lot of the reason why shows peter off and die is because they're not getting the ratings, or they're not getting the viewers, or they're not getting the financial backing to continue.
Or it's a second season of Fox.
Right. Or it's the second season of a show other than 24 that Fox doesn't care about. And
isn't animated.
and isn't animated, right. But I think for the overall premise of when shows get canceled and when shows just kind of end up going into that graveyard of other shows is usually fairly well planned out. Not always, obviously, and that's kind of where we're at right now with this versus topic. But I would say that typically, even though it's hard, that the honorable, humble death of a series is probably the best of a result.
And ironically enough, as big of a fan of the remake of Battlestar Galactica as I am, I think I almost agree with Don and Derek, for the simple fact that I think that if viewers or fans, force writers to keep writing a show because, I say force, but it's the same thing with video games. If a video game ends in a bad ending, if they start to backpedal what they chose for the ending, then you start losing continuity between whatever happened or whatever the writers wanted to happen. And then you just start putting people in bad situations where they're going to make bad decisions for the series as a whole. And then you start destroying, that was my favorite character, and now all of a sudden they're doing something goofy that I don't like. Well, it's your fault because there was never supposed to be a third season of whatever show that was.
That's exactly what I wanted to get at, right there. That's if we could just allow these individuals who are developing the shows to really flesh out their ideas, come up with the series before they actually go through the recording, define this is the complete story, this is where it will end. Don't do 30 seasons of How I Met Your Mother, and the kids are 12 years old, 12 years older than when it started. It's like, why are we still sitting here trying to figure out what the heck's going on?
I like how the premium channels do it, where they say, okay, this is a storyline, like Spartacus. They said, we've got an angle for this, and they do 3 to 4 really good seasons, and they were really good seasons, and they end on a high note. I think that's similar to how they do it in Japan, if I remember correctly, where they do, and in Britain as well. They have certain mapped out seasons, and they may be shorter than ours, but I still think that as long as you have sort of an end goal, if you have an end goal, then and work towards that.
Yeah, I think I would rather have 10 or 12 good episodes in a season than 26 mediocre episodes.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Then this whole aspect of rebooting a series, it's going to be less of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Donald?
I think thus far, from what I have seen in a lot of current television, and I agree with you, Derek, again.
Are you
ill?
Are you ill?
I'm
looking outside to see if clouds are forming.
Right? Well, they are, but that's a completely different matter. But I feel like HBO, though I have not read the series, HBO has, in my opinion, done a really good job with the Game of Thrones series. Mm-hmm. Because even though where the series is, from the people who I've talked to who have read the book, they're only about halfway through the third book. At the end of the third season. So obviously the timeline for episodes versus chapters and books doesn't necessarily line up. That doesn't bother me. But what I like is, even though there are little bits here and there that they add in with creative license or they take away with creative license, they are still keeping very true to the core story. Mm-hmm. And that story, even though the end has not been written, the author himself has planned on 7 books in that series. So obviously, if HBO is keeping in line with that storyline, then once they have gotten to the end of that 7th book, then hopefully, if the season is still going on, then they will also culminate the series in that same way.
There are 2 things that I can also add to this. One is, it doesn't necessarily have to follow the original story. For instance, Jurassic Park diverged from what the book had, and it still did a fantastic job with the story.
That's still one of my favorite 90s movies of all time.
There was another idea that I was going to go with, but I actually lost my train of thought.
Deb.
Well, what I was going to bring up is the sensitivity of the subject is not really with the TV shows that are doing well. So no offense to Game of Thrones, but good Lord, it's doing fine. Okay. Right. It's not with Doctor Who. Dear Lord, it's doing fine. This is with the or True Blood. We're not talking about the big shows that everyone knows. We're talking about the shows that certain people, certain niches are passionate about, but it's not a big mainstream everyone going bananas. And so you're ripping the heart out of a small group of people, and it's the big network who said, don't feel like this is profitable. It's about their money-making venture, and I hate it as a creative license, but that is what is going on.
Right. And,
okay.
Yeah.
But, so stepping on that point, and Derek's going to, like, eat his microphone.
And here we go.
And here we go. All right.
Ding, ding, ding. Round one has
Yeah,
officially
exactly.
started.
Fireworks were over weeks ago.
Yeah.
Stop it.
But, so for those shows, and we can all list some of them, Firefly is the one that came up the most. Okay.
I think it just came up first.
It did. I think I would ask a question to everyone, and this is I'm asking it out there to the Established Facts universe really too. Is
we have a universe?
I'm giving us
it's
universe.
Really,
they did take over the universe.
I don't know if anybody's in it.
It's a universe of factors.
There's like 100 people in our universe, man.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Hey, if a universe of a galaxy can be on the chain of a cat, the universe can have 100 people.
It's Orion's belt. Thank you very much.
Men in Black reference. I see what you did there.
Anyhow, Deb.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Wherever that went. For a show that was, in the eyes of many, prematurely killed. Okay. To them, it wasn't an honorable death. To them, you killed their best friend.
And kick the dog.
Exactly.
I understand
okay.
that.
I still got the mic. All right.
She's holding the
magic
conch.
I like this version.
Putting her foot down.
So I am. This is the fence. You watch me on the fence. All right. So there was one side. You just killed their best friend. That was not an honorable death. That was you stabbed him in the back and left him there.
Ritual seppuku.
It was. But on the other side,
we're gonna let you stab yourself, and then we're gonna cut your head off.
If your love and your passion for that show was for the characters that were in it, after 10, 15, 20 years, you're not going to get that back. And you need to look that in the face. Wrinkles happen, time happens, people get old, people die. You're not going to get the characters back. Did you love the universe? And if you love the universe, are you going to be able to live with the idea of a show coming back in that universe that might be able to do better? My prime example is going to be Star Trek. Okay? Star Trek only had, 2 or 3 seasons? Yeah. And it was ended 3.
The original series had
was 3. Thank you. And it went places socially that hardly any other show went. If you think about it, it was kind of before its time.
It was actually the first nationally televised series to have an interracial kiss on it.
Exactly. And you had Sulu, you had a Russian during the middle of the ideas of the Cold War. I mean, it was revolutionary. It ended after 3 seasons. When they brought it back, they didn't put Kirk, Spock, and McCoy back in there again. It wouldn't have been relevant, and it wouldn't have made any sense. They brought back the idea of that universe and the dream of that universe with another crew. And it did work. So I would ask, what if, and I know Dan Reppinger already said this, and you probably all know this, Firefly universe, would people be able to accept that? Because if it's a character, I'm sorry, people die. I'm a doctor, hate to tell you that, but it happens.
Okay. There's a big chain of stuff going on here, so hold on. You're going to have to bear with me. Prime had his hand up, and then we're going to go to Derek, and then we're going to go to Don. So here we go. And then Josh. I did not see you put your hand up. You're going last.
All right. So I just want to say, just as far as Joss Whedon's track record is concerned, every TV series that he's done and every movie that he's done, he's completed except for Firefly. And I think the reason why he didn't complete Firefly... Dollhouse.
That's not true.
But he ended Dollhouse. The season ended, and he ended it appropriately. It came to an end. Yes. It wasn't like a drastic. Everything stops, so we got to make a movie in order to actually finish it. So, I think that he didn't complete it for a reason, and I don't think he's going to go back personally. So,
yeah, it's. the whole concept of this sacred cow, I understand people get behind certain TV series, and but if you were that passionate about the series, why didn't you get all of your friends and then they get all of their friends to watch it, instead of you who came, and I hate to say it, a lot of these people came after the series was on the air and said, we want this series back. Well, you should have been watching it while it was on the air. And one of the points I made on the post was, okay, you guys are lamenting this. Is there a series on right now that is going to face a similar fate? You need to go out and make sure that you've got people watching this, because I'm sorry, unless it's on a cable network, or if it's on like HBO or something like a premium series, you're fighting the numbers, and that's just the way it is. So maybe you can find like TNT or Spike or something like that type of network to produce it, but they can't afford some of these series. I mean, Firefly I think was pretty expensive to produce because of it's a sci-fi series and it's not Sharknado, but and then there's HBO or Showtime or Starz, but I don't know if a lot of these people are going to be paying for the premium subscriptions to do that. It's like, all right, guys, you just, especially after 5 years afterwards, it's just like, drop it. I mean, seriously, just go find back up something that's currently being produced that is worthy to be backed, and put your effort and energy into that, or go, make your own or do something. I mean, it's just, it frustrates me because it just seems like there's a lot of impotent rage.
How do
you follow impotent rage?
Apparently by text.
Real quick
No,
here,
I'm not
Don.
texting. I'm
just so
jotting
you
down some
understand,
notes so I don't forget.
Sharknado,
Yes.
actual movie on Sci-Fi.
Okay.
Just released. They're running it. They're going to rerun it. Okay. Premise of the entire movie:
Yeah.
hurricane hits a city, sweeps up sharks into the town, flooded areas, or whatever, and then the pressure systems hit, and a tornado sweeps all the sharks up.
And they don't die.
No.
They
just
become lethal weapons of the tornado.
Of course they do. Missiles with teeth. That is ridiculous.
This is legitimate. Like,
Good
it's an
Lord.
actual
It's
movie
sci-fi.
produced.
It's the Sci-Fi
Yeah, it's the
Network.
Sci-Fi
They-
Like
Network.
Tara Reid is in it.
I'd rather watch Sprouts.
Yeah. I'll watch Sid the Science Kid. Thank you.
So there you go. That's
Okay. No, I wasn't texting. I was actually jotting down some notes on my phone because it's a little easier than writing because it doesn't make as much noise. So in regard to where Debbie was at when she was talking about, you're not going to be able to regain the love that you had for specific characters in the same way that you had it when whatever show or movie or what have you existed. I know we've mentioned Firefly quite a few times because I think that is one of the most passionately driven, never going to happen revivals that people want to see. But I never watched. I'm sorry, I never watched Firefly. I haven't seen Serenity. However, one of the series that I did watch that was very near and dear to my heart that I feel like got a really bad rap, and right in the middle of its acceleration into what I feel like would have been multiple seasons of television is Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, writer strike.
And what killed that was the second season. Again, like Derek said, there was a writer's strike. It killed. I mean, the season is about half as long as the other 3 seasons that exist. But the problem that I had was the 4th season, in my opinion, that they came out with totally started on one of the strongest notes that I had seen since the first season had started. And in my opinion, they could have gone so hard with that 4th season to bring people back to kind of say, okay, look, we understand that there was some professional issues in the middle of us trying to produce this show, and the show suffered. But we want to show you that we are not done and we are not quitting on this But what happened was they started with a really strong upswing, and then it literally just crashed in the last, 2 episodes of that last 4th season. And what broke my heart was to see a lot of and I think this is the only real side of where I kind of embody those people who are what are considered rabid fans for something like Firefly or other shows like that, Battlestar Galactica, is that I would love for them to come back and make a brand new Heroes series. However, since then, they have made 2 or 3 other series on Sci-Fi and on regular national networks that have a very similar premise, whether it be superheroes or heroes with special abilities or a specific, special unit. I think the only one so far that I've seen that shows a whole lot of promise is Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, the new one that, of course, Joss Whedon is behind?
Right,
yeah.
right. But my point is, they had, the 4400, they had a bunch of other shows that came out that had a very similar premise
No
to
Ordinary
Heroes.
Family, The Cape. Those are the most...
And they all came and went.
Yep.
Just
Is
as quick
Alphas
as
still
just
around?
just as quick as
Alphas?
they came and they walked out the back door, and they
Okay.
never came back. However, I think that in my opinion, I feel like they are totally different in generational impact. But I feel like a series that I can kind of get behind for being gone for a long time and then coming back and making themselves relevant again is the Star Wars series. Now, I understand that George Lucas went a completely different direction in episodes 1, 2, and 3 than he had in the original 3 episodes. However, he still managed to capture every one of our attentions through 3 new episodes of Star Wars. And even though the first episode was kind of a disappointment and it didn't go the direction that a lot of people wanted, they were still invested enough in the first original 3 that they wanted to see where it was going to go. And, I mean, I was not disappointed in the end for the direction that the beginning had started. And I'm glad to see that Disney has picked up the reins and they're going to be producing the next 3, the sequels to the original trilogy, which I'm really excited about.
J.J. Abrams? Correct?
Yeah, it's a J.J. Abrams. But in that note, I think that there is a delicate balance between having a series die, and if you do bring it back, I think the way you bring it back effectively is, let's say you have those characters from Firefly that everyone loves. You've got those gunslingers that everybody recognizes their profile in a shadow. They don't even have to see their actual face in the light. Mm-hmm. You throw them in a cameo like they did in Deep Space Nine.
They did it in Next Generation, Deep Space Nine,
and they
in Voyager,
They
and the Star Trek
transitioned
movie.
from one series to the next.
They handed it off.
Yeah.
In a respectful way.
Right. And they basically handed the reins from this cast to the next cast and this story to the next story. And I think you don't have to have the entire crew from the original show, but I think if you've got a couple big hitters there,
You have to have Mel.
yeah,
Well,
then I mean, maybe they hand off the ship. Maybe he hands off his gun. And it's a whole new, you know what I mean? Like
It doesn't really even
something
have to be
significant.
either of those.
Right.
It could just be, a cameo or a guest star, like
Just kind of a nod to the original series and then the transition into the new one.
Yep.
And they
That's
would
all
have-
you need.
It would have to be on like a cable network or on a premium channel.
Why not the internet?
But and this is where I'm jumping in. This is what I've been holding on to too.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Our last episode, of course, we had Jen Page on, known for her little independent roles that she's been doing mostly in web series and lower inexpensive type things. But she is a very rabid fan of anything that's just material, whether it be good sci-fi, bad sci-fi, good fantasy, bad fantasy, whatever that is. But there's a huge and growing community on the web. Battlestar Galactica, which has been mentioned, Blood and Chrome, was a full series produced by the YouTube channel Machinima. They did it, and everyone was like, that's really good. We're going to air it on Sci-Fi. Why? Because the fans stepped up, provided a script, provided written material, And they showed that those that are truly passionate need to be either willing to step up and produce their own and see if it does well, or find something that they can get behind and show support for. And in stating that, the flip side being, I think the mistake that's made mostly by networks. I'm a Firefly fan. It was sad to see it go. Joss Whedon's got more than enough on his plate. It's not coming back. Just understand that it's not. And it's not just because of Fox. It's not just because Joss can't do it. If Firefly's going to come back, a Next Generation might be an option. Maybe again, I don't see that. But what you are seeing is a few networks are being very clear that, you know what, we're finishing it out. And how are they doing it? They're promoting it of the final season or the final episodes. Futurama's doing it. They're doing the final episodes for the second time because Futurama came back after being canceled.
Burn Notice is doing that.
Burn Notice is on their final season. Was it season 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. Warehouse 13, the next season, the final episodes.
Lost did that.
Yeah, because they want to make it clear to fans, we get it, you loved it, but we got to get rid of it. We're done with it. Here, at least you'll know that it's going to be over. So the internet's going to be a great tool for different productions to be made available, whether it be being paid for through Kickstarter or produced on YouTube. But on the same note, I think networks are starting to realize we can't just pull the plug on things. We've got to let people know that we're going to finish it.
Well, and I think they've realized that, you know, how in the 90s you had Friends that was on for eons, you know, and you had Frasier that was on for forever. You can't
Lucy.
do that really in this day and age. Like, people lose interest in stuff, and you can't keep going with these stories that are, you know, getting crazier and crazier. Like what happened with Lost when they got to the third season. They're like, oh, we've really written ourselves into a weird spot. So they sat down and were like, you know, the producers actually said, all right, this is what's going to happen. We know that this is where it's going to go. It's going to have 3 more seasons. That's going to be it. And it's going to be over. You know, they've realized, like Rhaegar was saying, you can't have, you know, 18 seasons of How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
You know, you can't keep going and going and going like you used to do with shows. So
And
I think,
as much as I like to bash Fox, but you brought up a really good point. They let Fringe, like, complete their series.
Yeah, and they told everybody, this
Yeah.
is the final season. That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick, and then we're gonna jump back to Rhaegar down there. But just to comment on the Friends and the Frasier and the Simpsons and all these
Seinfeld,
other episodes.
ER.
South Park.
Family Guy?
Family Guy resurrected.
so yeah, it came back from
Well,
cancellation.
you have to think though, and this is just my, I guess my third party perspective of it all. In that day and age, what did people do? They sat around, they ate their TV dinners, and they watched TV as a family. That's kind of like when Friends started. That's what people did. The family sat around, you watched TV. That was your family bonding time. And that was in the day of age where you had appointment television.
Oh, true.
That's every Thursday night. I'm going to watch Friends.
We'll see you next week.
TGIF.
That was before, before Netflix,
Must see
before
TV.
on demand, before all that stuff.
Before
that was
DVR.
Absolutely, that was appointment television. And so, as a network, Jeremy, if you own a network, you can look and see Friends is really doing awesome because every Thursday, every mother and their brother is watching Friends,
Literally.
and you could get a 100% accurate almost as to what your fan base is and what they're doing. Nowadays, you have, I'm going to watch it 3 weeks later on DVR. I'm going to
Hulu it.
Hulu it, or
Illegally
I'm
stream
going to
it.
illegally stream it off the internet. I'm going to
I'm
go
going to
over
watch
my
the entire season over 2 days.
absolutely.
USA has been hosting episodes of Burn Notice, or Doctor Who's been hosted on BBC. You can watch it on their websites.
Right. So it's you have all these external medias that are providing the ways to watch these shows, which is less accurate to track ratings and track fans and track all this stuff.
The access is larger, but
Right. So it makes the world smaller because more people get to watch it. However,
It makes it less clear
well,
to
you get
the
less.
networks.
You get less series, less lengthy series.
They're working on that. Nielsen's taking over Internet Play now.
So that's really leading me towards what I wanted to comment on.
You're welcome.
It's this aspect of a reward system. The history of broadcasting has been based on ratings. Where are they getting profit from? And I'm going to throw it out to everybody. Should that be the system that we continue with, or should a new system be adopted? And if so, does anyone here have any ideas?
Well, the amazing thing is that cable subscriptions should be all they need now. The fact that someone is paying for a subscription to HBO, no, they're not watching they may not be watching a particular series, but by having that subscription, they at least know, you know what, we're putting stuff on. But hold on.
That's like saying just because I have the national TV channels, I watch what's on it.
But,
that's not necessarily
but
true.
The cable companies, because of the internet and the majority of them having hookup either via dial-up or high-speed internet or whatever, are hooked up to nearly every cable box. The way that they're hooked up now, the way the technology works, they can very easily go, they're watching this, and they don't need a Nielsen's rating system. All they have to do is go, hey, cable subscribers, how many people are watching this show? Is that not enough? All right, then we move and make a new show.
But see, that's the thing though. As as a network or whatever, if I'm in charge of ABC, I'm not going to go to Comcast and say, or whoever provides your cable, and say, hey, I want to know what all of my people or all of your people are watching.
Because the cable providers they pay the networks for that.
Huge
Right.
money.
If I'm a cable provider, I'm going to go, I don't care what my people are watching because I'm getting $60 a month for them to watch whatever they want.
Yeah.
They're paying me to get access to these channels. I don't care what they watch. Right. Which is why I think when you say, well, if you have access to HBO, it should, they don't care what you watch.
Right.
They're getting their money.
They're getting their money from you. You could have HBO and never watch it.
Yeah. I think the system of commercials is getting
out of hand.
Yeah.
Which is why I think a lot of people like watching things on HBO where you don't have to worry about commercials.
Should we do that? Should we go to a full a la carte system?
I'll be honest, I've completely stopped watching television. I haven't watched television since
Thank you.
college.
High five.
I don't even
something,
have
I don't know.
a television provider to my house.
Yeah, I don't either.
So
what do you do?
internet.
I have Netflix.
Netflix,
Right.
Hulu.
I have
Some
the
people
internet.
don't watch the current television shows, or they know that.
Even if you do, you
Again,
have Hulu.
I-
or
yeah,
things
I
like
watch
that
them,
where you
yeah.
can get
There are
it.
I'm up to
certain
date
series.
on-
Warehouse 13 is an example.
It's on
Warehouse-
Sci-Fi.
It's on Sci-Fi, but they don't
But
put it out on
right now, what I'm saying is it's going to happen. It's happening. The cable providers are already looking into making everything available online.
See,
It's
Warehouse
happening.
13's on it on Netflix.
Yeah.
What, current?
No, current is not.
But
In order to get current, you do need a cable subscription, but some people don't care. They can wait
Right.
till it comes out on DVD and then watch it.
And nowadays, you don't even need a computer. You can just use your Xbox or your PlayStation.
We're the
3.
weirdos who watch shows when they come out
And I
Yeah.
think
Or your phone.
on your phone.
I think that right there, what we have just said, is the reason that we are even having this discussion right now.
Because we're weirdos.
Because no, yes,
yes.
yes. But in perspective, what did we just say? We don't watch Warehouse 13 right now, but when this current season is on Netflix next season, we'll be watching it.
Okay, so how do they pay for the shows?
Right.
Well, what they do is they just monitor what you watch on Netflix.
Which Netflix does do.
Yeah, they use the exact same rating system.
yes, but that as they're different. The TV is different. It's not like when Friends or when those shows are on that Friends is making money based on what what they watch.
Yeah.
Like as a show, it's making money based on the number of
Right.
people watching it.
Right.
Okay. As TV has evolved, the network makes money. Okay. And this is how you end up with networks that go, that's a bad series and I'm not having it on here.
Yeah.
The network makes money, and then they decide where they're giving their money to.
yeah.
Right, because of commercials.
Right. Instead of Friends making money because people are watching Friends.
Okay,
Right.
but in that model.
Because in that day and age, it was appointment TV.
Yeah, he's saying that that's the current model.
Yeah,
Right.
in the current model, it's ABC makes
They
money.
have a pool of
and
money.
then ABC goes, we want to support Friends.
We want
to
to keep
support
80s, or we want to keep Once Upon a
whatever.
Time on because,
And give it a new show because
give it
they're
a new
making
show.
us a lot of money.
Right.
Instead
but
of
all
instead
these
of
little
having
things we can cut.
instead of going, okay, in our network, everybody is watching Once Upon a Time and Friends and Fringe and whatever. So they are making the money to stay self-sufficient.
Right.
Okay?
So we'll continue to
So
fund them.
we'll continue to just let them be self-sufficient.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
because everything is like you're watching it a season behind, you're watching it whatever, the network takes all the money together and goes, okay, who are we paying?
Right. No, I get that. But I guess in a new model, do the shows need to pay for themselves? Essentially, do we need to pay, I guess, Hulu subscription, and then they say, okay, we're watching those shows? But those are like a season behind, so how do we know?
And then you run into do you have to pay for every episode, or do you pay for all of it at once? Do you pay...
Should all of the episodes be kickstarted and see what their popularity is before the series starts?
YouTube, and I can't believe they did this, but I understand why. YouTube is actually going to the opportunity of a paid model as well, where you actually can pay to subscribe to channels on YouTube.
They have whole movies on there.
Well, that's sometimes, yes. I know which one you're talking about. Theirs is a rental situation as well, but they're actually, like, for example, Geek and Sundry. They aren't on that model right now because they make their money from the advertisements of Google. They don't need it.
Yeah. They're funded completely different.
But some channels that are producing original content, like Machinima does or whatever, or the Nerdist does, if they decided to switch to this model, a user would pay $2 or $3 a month to access that channel and get content as it becomes available. Whereas those who don't subscribe get it after a certain amount of time. When the subscription goes through, Google takes their cut, the rest goes to the owner. That is the model of paying for you're basically paying for the producer of the show, not the network who allows the show to be on it.
Right.
Okay, then should we go to that model? Can we go to that model?
Currently, that's
enough
if
money?
it's $3, it would be more than buying a cable subscription. Cable's smarter.
Okay.
That's where we're at right now. Now you've got a balancing act. People might be, for the price I pay for cable, I could get maybe 10.
How many?
I don't know, 20 channels on YouTube.
How many channels do you actually watch?
It's true. I know. I watch maybe 10 or 15 channels.
You watch 3.
I watch more than that. You just don't watch them with me.
Oh.
There's a cooking
All right.
channel. So.
Well, then the Food Network,
yeah.
USA.
Cartoon
Right.
Network, HBO, Stars.
Then you just run that stuff in bundles.
Yeah.
Or
Like,
But,
you
but
get-
then we get back to the cable model.
Well, you don't necessarily, because you could go have a bunch of channels that are all sci-fi minded,
Oh yeah.
and you lump it by genre of TV and go, hey, you really enjoy sci-fi TV? Pay
Here's your geek nerd and sci-fi.
Pay $6,
I remember when Tech TV used to be a thing.
but yeah, I may see where you're going. It's
If you're a home person, you watch all of the home fix-it shows, and all of them are put in a box. Here's your food
I
box.
just don't know if they get enough money to do
Like
to
an
produce
RSS
shows.
feed or something where you can choose what you want to
If the
follow.
right people backed it, you'd be surprised. Why do you think Hulu is still on?
Yeah, but they don't produce a whole lot of.
They produce a few unique, but the thing is they're $8 a month, and you get to watch the majority of live running network television.
All right, well,
Donald. In regard to the cable model in which you are kind of discussing, and I know we kind of drifted away a little bit from where we were at, but it's
I'm
still
okay where we're going.
Yeah,
What else is
it's
there?
still relevant. I mean, it has everything to do with your loyalty to the shows that you watch. I think what would be an intelligent road to begin to go down when it comes to whether it's a cable company monitoring what you're watching, or the network monitoring what you're watching, or the individual show monitoring what you're watching. To have a system, if you are a cable subscriber, if you are a satellite TV subscriber, to be able to actually have kind of your basket of local channels, because a lot of people want to have their local news, local weather, things like that.
Which that stuff is
That's
still free.
It is free. But then to also have an a la carte menu, I think that maybe Derek had mentioned it earlier. Somebody had mentioned something a la carte earlier.
Yeah, it'd be me.
But having Stitcher, it's not necessarily the most popular podcast app, but I use Stitcher on my Android phone. And I can get on a podcast that I want to listen to, and I can say, "Oh, look, there's other podcasts that have related content." So I'm gonna go ahead and listen to this one. Oh, I like this. I'll subscribe to this. Well, I didn't really like this episode, but I'll give them one more chance. I'll subscribe. You can subscribe to specific podcasts. Well, there's no reason why, with the information age that we're in, we cannot have that same technology when it comes to channels or shows. And I think that a more honest way for a show that we enjoy and that we are passionate about to continue is to be able to do that and say, you know what, I love watching True Blood. I love watching Game of Thrones. I'm going to specifically subscribe to, just like you do with your DVR, I'm going to set my recording to watch True Blood, or I'm going to set my recording to record Monday Night Raw. I'm going to subscribe to this specific program, and then you have it at a premium price, because the thing is, there are so many fans of each individual specific show. I don't watch HBO. I watch Game of Thrones and True Blood. Mm-hmm. I don't watch USA. I watch Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you subscribe to specific shows, then they can track where that money is going, and that money can honestly fund the continuation of the shows in which you are watching.
Mm-hmm. But then you end up with, is it going to cost you something to subscribe to shows?
Well, yeah,
will.
I mean, it will.
Well,
it will.
If you're a hardcore enough fan that you want to see that brand new flipping episode, you're going to pay the money to do it.
And there should be options to pay more, and you get more things from
more
it.
content, right?
Sort of
absolutely.
like a Kickstarter. Not, but I don't want to go down that route.
Maybe they do
per se, but yeah.
This is how the making of this episode, or
you have
here's
different levels,
alternate endings,
right?
Alternate endings,
Yeah.
or here's your
name
interviews,
is in the credits or something like that.
right? Or you've got a random person who has your name in the episode.
Yeah.
By doing that, you're sacrificing creativity.
Why?
If all the money's going towards the shows that people are interested in, how can you channel it towards something new?
You have
Yeah, that's a
you
good
have
point.
2 to 3 episode pilots that are
I would be okay with that.
that you can either have for free subscription. Hey, watch these pilots.
Or you say, Don subscribed to True Blood, and you go,
Do 5-minute trailers.
or Don subscribed to True Blood, and at the end of the series or at the end of a season, you go, hey, from the producers who bring you True Blood, he is starting out yada yada yada.
Right. I mean,
this is similar in
Yeah.
taste, and then you get a chance to go.
There was a on the internet. There was something very similar to that. It was for YouTube type of shows, and so what would happen is you would get presented like 5 different options, and then you would the people that were watching that internet website could vote, and the highest votes got additional episodes. So you could almost do that with a pilot, saying, okay, we want to see the second one, we want to see the third one, and then those that made it through those 3 steps, they get produced into a full show.
Yeah, and I mean, they already do it with YouTube. You can like or dislike any video.
Isn't that what Amazon does when you buy something and then it brings up, hey, you might like...
You leave a review.
And
yeah,
the whole
or
long
yeah.
line.
Hey,
People
this
who
relates
bought
to
this
everything
often
you
bought
just
this.
looked at. Right.
People who watch this
I
show
mean,
often like this show.
We've already made the comment that there are several movies and several series that Joss Whedon has produced that we enjoy. Mm-hmm. So why not subscribe to, I want to see everything that
The Josh Whedon
made.
channel.
Or J.J. Abrams, or you know what I mean? Like, be able to
It's
subscribe
funny.
by producer. Sorry, go ahead.
Company. Well, no, this is actually along the same lines. Spotify, iTunes, Google Music All Access, Rhapsody. The music industry is starting to understand that the recommendation process works. The idea that I want to listen to, I look up Beatles radio. I want to listen to music that's just like the Beatles, and it gives me different artists like the Rolling Stones and the
I do that
Byrds and
with
all these
Pandora.
different things. Pandora, that's the other one. I would love to see that happen with television. And on a completely different side note, before I forget it, just because you made the statement, Monday Night Raw, though, whether you're a professional wrestling fan or not, have to be given a ton of props for what they've done, because they've been on the air every week for over 20 years, producing unique content every week on multiple stations. But the reason why it succeeds is because they change characters. There's a big reason for that. It can fit different generations that way too.
They're a different model altogether. They make money internally and externally.
Right.
They charge for tickets for people to attend,
Yeah.
and then they get money for people watching it on
And then
network.
they
And then
charge
they-
for the merchandise that those
and then
people
they do
buy
promotional things
Right.
like
But
So,
see,
you know.
there's a different model for things succeed as well.
Well, you got to
that's
think
absolutely
when you got to back in the day, Jeremy, you'll know. Back in the day when you did
Because
like
you're very old.
Yes.
Oh,
No,
back when
just-
I used to watch TV.
no, well, he's into all that kind of eclectic stuff. When you had Friends and Frasier and all that stuff, what were they filmed in front of?
A
live studio
audience.
So guess what?
Nickelodeon.
Guess what?
Double Dare.
They charged you
Love it.
to come in and sit and watch the live studio audience filming of Friends.
Cosby
And
Show.
then
Who's the Boss?
they put it
on the
Full
network.
House,
they
Oprah.
put it on the
Saturday-
network,
Come
and
on.
then they charged you
Saturday
money to
Night
watch
Live.
it.
Cheers.
Price is Right.
Yeah, all
Full
that
House.
stuff. It's funded internally, and then it's funded externally.
I thought those were free tickets. though.
They're not always. They're not always free tickets to go
Like
sit and watch that stuff.
Oprah
live.
is a free ticket,
Yeah.
but you have to call it this time, but this particular hour when the sun's at this angle.
Yeah, right. Jerry Springer, however.
oh, your hair? Here, have a ticket.
Yeah.
No, are you crazy?
Well,
Are
you can either
here?
take
Are
a
you
ticket or
white?
you can sign this paper
then-
and you can be a redneck
But
today.
then you know they have
Paid $2,000. Yeah.
even if you have the free Oprah ticket that you scored on the third Sunday of the Sabbath, you just they have merchandise that you buy. You have Oprah's favorite book that week or whatever.
Right.
Well, and Game of Thrones, you can buy. There's a ton of marketed stuff out
So
there for
they
them.
have,
It's
they have
helping.
the first two
So
seasons.
in
on
the
Blu-ray,
difference
so
in the
yeah.
way that TV is now is very rarely are you filming anything in front of anybody live anymore.
Right.
Well, and I think also on top of that, adding to what you were just talking about, nowadays the generation of television watchers, we are like, compared to people who watched TV in the 80s and the 90s, we are like super freak fans. Like, I am a huge fan of the Avengers. And I would go out and buy every Avengers t-shirt and every Avengers keychain. I have a Mjolnir bottle opener just so I can open my bottles.
Joss
with
Whedon
the
loves
hammer
you.
of- I'm just saying. But my point is, it's. I mean, you're sitting at the table right now with a Batman t-shirt on.
I am.
I'm.
We have a TARDIS closet.
Exactly. My point is,
That's
it
by a
seems
Doctor Who
like-
poster.
It seems to me not necessarily that we are more loyal than past fans of shows, but we are more outwardly loyal to those shows, and we are willing to say, you know what, it really ticks me off that they canceled Heroes, or it really ticks me off that they canceled Firefly. And in my opinion, the change that we need to have is not, I wish they'd bring it back, but it needs to be, well, they canceled it, you better bring something back that was at least equivalent, if not better, and stop giving us crap shows.
Yeah, I mean, I have deck card holders for
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
Oh, those are sweet.
yeah,
Go another direction. Encourage the fans to do it themselves.
yeah, absolutely.
So here's what I totally went off left field onto the live TV audience thing.
Hire Jen Page.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes,
Boom.
that's it.
There you
Done.
go. But
Done.
here was my connection I made earlier. If any of you've played the Mass Effect series at all,
Yes.
Oh, that's a great series.
you know, have heard, have read, have seen the smoke signals of people who were extremely upset with how the series ended in Mass Effect 3. Okay? There was a huge uproar on the fan base of Mass Effect 3, and EA has since produced downloadable content to change the ending of the game.
Which I haven't gotten by.
Okay? So, two things have happened.
It happened.
Two things
Yeah, I
have
know it
happened.
did.
You have had a huge company recognize the fact that their players or their fans or whatever are just unhappy about the product that they were produced.
Oops.
So they responded. Two, when they produced the ending of the game, you still have people who are upset because it's not what they wanted. You're never going to make everyone happy.
Right.
Correct.
I don't care if they make 87 seasons of Firefly. If Derek really wants the 88th season, if you end it at 87, he's going to be upset.
I'm enraged. Grr.
Right? So you're never going to make everyone happy. And as a matter of fact, you'll probably make more people mad if you keep putting out horrible shows.
Agreed.
Right?
Clearly, what we need is more DRM and everything being processed out on the cloud.
something of that nature.
Clearly.
But I think
That's another episode.
I think I agree with Josh is I think that TV should move to a little more consumer on demand TV, to where if I'm watching a TV show and I really enjoy whatever it is, maybe at the end of the series or end of the show I have 5-6 options of, okay, you know, we want to continue with this series, yada yada yada. How much would you like to see the series? Here's a couple of payment options or whatever that you could help support this. Would you like to see a 5-season series, a 3-season series? Would you like to just see this season ended?
Would you like to watch it with less commercials?
Right. So, you know,
That would be
and then
amazing.
literally it
Amen.
becomes from you're paying cable subscriptions. Now, I don't know what that does to your cable subscriptions, but you go from
It
playing.
moves to internet and cell and phone. That's all it does.
It does, but then you have people like me who won't have TV and it won't matter. But nevertheless, you'll have, you know, I'm going to pay for Game of Thrones and I want to see it. I'm a hardcore fan and I want 87 seasons
Heck
of Game
yes.
of Thrones.
I don't care how
So-
many books there are.
So they're gonna say, okay, Donald, you want 87 seasons of Game of Thrones? That's going to cost you $40.
Boom. Done.
Don's going to give him whatever it is.
Shut up and take my money.
Don's going to give him $40. Why? Because he has the Mjolnir bottle opener and he wants the TARDIS closet or
that's
whatever, right?
But it's,
I want
they should
the
have
Iron Throne.
Sorry,
You want
I
an
know
Iron
that-
Throne toilet.
Hold on.
I know that
We're
they
getting
have to have a
uncomfortable
minimum amount, just like Kickstarter saying, this is how
Well, yeah.
much we need to produce the show, so that if they don't reach it, then
They don't
I'll
owe
hit-
Donald money back.
They owe Don's money back, and they can send him a tissue for tears.
Right.
So
It's literally you turn TV into a internal version of Kickstarter,
Yeah.
and you go, okay, you want Firefly to be forever long? Pay for it.
Well, and I think you can also have like separate goals. You can say, okay, for each episode, this is what we need to raise. For the entire season, this is what we need to raise.
And it's cheaper to make a season than it is to make one episode.
there you go.
and the producers need to be able to say, you know what, creativity, the season needs to stop this season.
Absolutely. And even if Don wants to pay $30 for 87 seasons of whatever,
If the writers
if
say
the
we're
writers say,
finishing.
hey, we're done,
Yep.
then hopefully the writer appreciates the fact that Donald has paid however many.
And he sends me the Iron Throne himself.
No, hopefully they end the season that you're happy.
Right. Absolutely.
That being said, we need to get away from this blockbuster movie Hollywood accounting system.
Agreed.
See, I know that you talked about that a little bit on our last episode with Jen Page, but I personally, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't have enough experience with it to
You-
really say anything.
Right.
That, you know, I don't want to say anything that would be wrong and mislead our audience. So what I would instead recommend doing is going online, search for like a Wikipedia page on Hollywood accounting. That's the keyword, Hollywood accounting.
Okay.
And you'll find documents of how Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter movie, made no money.
Oh, wow.
There was no profit, and there's financial records that they try to put together, and the author
J.K. Rowling.
she sues the company, whoever produced it for her, to make sure
Warner
that
Brothers.
she got rewarded for it properly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I'll definitely look that up.
So, this entire episode makes it clear to me why Paizo had to produce Pathfinder.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Talk about
and
That's a
the-
great way of
I mean,
going
we
another
haven't really.
direction.
Well, we haven't really talked about it in
Oh,
gaming.
3.5.
But
Oh.
Well, and that's I know this is a gaming podcast, but sometimes we got to have these discussions to get them out there. Where we're all things pot gaming. I don't hear that, but we're going to take advantage of the situation when we have a good discussion. Paizo was a publisher for D&D 3.5 for the longest time. The game sales, game store, whatever that is, and their content creators preferred the 3.5 rules. Okay. D&D decided to go a different direction, and instead of sitting on their hands and whining and griping about what Wizards did, they asked their content creators, do you want to keep working for 4.0, or do you want to start doing something else? Well, let's keep playing 3.5, make some house rules. After a while, they made a whole new game system out of it, and have now surpassed Wizards in terms of the amount of role-playing game systems, because those loyal fans made the decision that they wanted to continue forward with the thing that they thought was the best. But they did it immediately. And that's where we came back to the problem. Katie made the mention of immediately, and Derek said with this amount of time it's already passed, it's not going to get us anywhere. So it could have been comedically led that, you know what, I'm a Pathfinder player because I like it the old way. Well, I'm a Pathfinder player because I respect that Paizo decided they wanted to keep doing it that way.
I like the system. The system. I mean, I played Fourth. I've run Fourth.
So I'm not taking...
Would they have gotten the same energy if they had waited until now to do it?
No.
Probably not.
No.
They would have lost every bit of momentum they had.
Because by now there would have been enough people who disliked Fourth, who came from 3.5. They would have found a similar system, and Star Wars wouldn't have stopped producing stuff, because that was actually the only system that I have played that's similar to Fourth Ed that's actually good.
Yeah, agreed.
Just saying.
Yeah. Or they have to wait.
Or they would have
50
defected
years.
and they would have. I mean, so there's a lot of D20 people that play White Wolf. I mean,
just
True.
D20 system,
or just
There's
general
generic-
D20 system.
On the other hand, there are a lot of people that still play second edition.
Oh
You're
yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to connect this, Joshy, to our TV discussion. Oh wow! And then we're going to wrap up. So here it is. We're the cast of a show that's failing.
Sad face.
Okay.
Not me.
Now listen. We're the
all
cast.
Josh's
We're the
fault.
cast.
I already
of
signed
a
with
show
ABC.
of a show that's failing. Then you're
Sorry,
definitely
guys.
going to fail. And You're going to have bad teeth.
I thought NBC was the way to go.
Anyway, we're the cast of a show that's failing. When does it become our responsibility to usurp whoever is controlling the show and keep making shows?
Whose fault is it? Is it the producers or is it the networks?
Either way, doesn't matter
Yes,
because
it does.
we're the cast.
No, it does. Because
No, it doesn't matter. Based on what Josh says,
Depends on the contract.
based on
Yeah,
what
I was
Josh
saying,
no,
yeah,
hold on.
exactly.
No, I'm
Can
ju-
the
I'm
cast
just-
legally
I'm just-
do anything?
I'm just connecting-
Hypothetically speaking,
I'm just connecting it, like Josh had said with the Paizo stuff.
Okay.
Those people,
we work for a network.
we work
and a
Content
company.
now, the difference though, content creators and cast are not the same.
Hold on. Let me get there.
Okay.
Okay.
Come
All right.
with him on this journey.
Now listen.
Come with him on
So
this
much
journey.
passion.
I'm just saying. I'm gonna have to start shanking people. So, you're in this show. It's failing. You're a designer for.
Can we call it Game of
You
Pones?
can call it whatever you want. Game of noobs.
Game of ponies.
So
Oh,
you are
My little game.
working for Wizards when they're producing bad 3.5.
Yeah.
Okay, they
was
decide
not
they
bad
want to.
3.5.
They decide they 3.5 was kind of iffy.
yeah. Well,
They decide they want to go with Fourth Ed, which is completely out of left field. The network decides they're canceling your show. Okay? The people who are involved in designing, playing,
Writing.
writing, producing, drawing, decide that they're going to pick up the banner and continue with the production of a product that they think is far better than they were given the opportunity to present it.
Okay, so hypothetically speaking, what you're setting
are
up
we a game system or are we a TV show?
I'm just saying,
'Cause
when
the
does
metaphors
when
just
does it
merge somewhere? along
when does
the
it
way.
become the responsibility
I'm
of the
having an
people who
identity
are in the
crisis.
show or a part of the show or are writing the show or designing the show to take over and say, look, my show is good. I don't care if you're going to put it on TV or not.
Got it.
I'm going to keep doing this.
Okay, so
you need the director, you need the writers, and you need the cast.
You don't have to have those because the same people who did the Blood and Chrome guys from Battlestar Galactica produced a very solid
yeah, and they
series.
didn't have any of that.
Didn't have any of those.
All they had was the canon.
All
from
they
the show.
all they had was the canon from the show.
That's why I mentioned earlier that the fans can take up
Well,
the banner.
When
That's-
when does that when
That's
does that
why
res-
he's-
when does that
Yeah.
re- when does that change hands and when does it no longer become profitable or not profitable when viable? Because like you said, if you would have waited 5 years to produce Pathfinder,
Right.
everyone would have either jumped
it'd
ship,
have been
played
obsolete.
Fourth Ed, or stopped playing games.
It needs to be within 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I would say
say
the.
three
I would
at
say
most.
the. I would say
I
the
say
shift.
I think 3 is pushing
I
it.
would say the shift needs to happen like because I am a fanatic for like movie and TV special features, and it seems like there are a lot of times when you watch something where someone who's in the special feature is involved in whatever the production is towards the end, and they say, for example, Indiana Jones, this happened, there was a couple actors who said that they felt like it was kind of, they could feel the engine coming to a halt, and they could feel that inevitable ending of a series. And I think if you are involved intimately in the story as an actor or as a writer or as a producer or as a director, and you say, hey, the network wants us to do this, and they're saying if we don't do this, they're going to cancel the show. And we have decided that it's better for us to cancel the show than to go this direction, because it's going to be completely wrong for where we have already been. I think at that point, that is right then and there. That is when you need to decide, is this going to continue in an internally sourced, way? Are we going to just shoot YouTube videos? Are we going to make our own production company? Are we going to branch off and do our own
Sadly,
thing?
that comes down to the content owner.
Yeah, that's true.
Or are the people involved struggling for money and they have to take another gig?
That's true. Yeah, that's
Quantum
another.
Leap is actually a direct example of that, but they went the wrong way. They went with the network because the network wanted more high value names as they were getting to that last season. So they went with Marilyn Monroe and they went with JFK, and that was
instead
wrong,
of lesser known.
right?
Yeah.
But the other example I have of that is the Universal Fighting System, the card game. When Fantasy Flight Games dropped the ball on that, Jasco picked it up, but Jasco had to hit right at that moment because, especially with trading card games, people will defect to Magic or Vanguard or any other. I think a lot of people went to Malhavoc.
Yeah, because collectible card games, just like TV shows, are mass produced.
Yes, and because of the printing and a lot of the issues that they've faced, a lot of the player base has gone down and is just starting to come back up as they've figured out all the issues 2 to 3 years later. But they had to get out in front of it immediately, or else there would not be a fan base right now.
I think as far as fan base is concerned, in regards to how much time you should wait, is dependent upon what you're doing. Because when it comes to running a TV series, people will lose interest a lot quicker when a series goes out of season versus a role-playing game that decided to go a different route than what you were going for.
That's not necessarily true, though, with TV series. I mean, Deb pointed out Star Trek, and also Doctor Who was off the air for a couple decades before they brought it back.
Dwarf.
In its current
Star Trek: The Next Generation was about 25 years after the original series. It came out in the
Battlestar
late 1980s.
Galactica was, the 70s, and they had the weird 80s show. But, you know what I mean? Like, you can have stuff that comes back after a couple decades. It's just, you have to find that sweet spot of it being nostalgic enough and not,
Lost in Space.
But that turns into nostalgia, not in terms of sort of immediate desire for the show. It becomes, I remember back when. Blah,
yeah, but I'm saying
and
people
again,
don't lose interest necessarily. They still have the interest. It's just a different type. You know what I'm saying?
Every one of those that has been named have been remakes of the original.
Right.
Like same world,
Yes.
different storyline.
And
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
Yes.
Again, however, using the example I already gave once, and then another one I'm gonna finish any
Go for
comment that I have. But Star Wars, the original Star Wars series, the last movie, I believe, was produced in '84.
The 80s, yeah.
83 or 84, yeah.
And I mean, the next one wasn't released until '98, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, it was late night.
Something,
Yeah,
something
98 or
like
99.
that. Yeah,
Huh?
Yeah, it was almost 2000.
Maybe 2000, 2001. I don't remember. Oh no, I think it was like '98. Anyhow, regardless, a couple decades in there between the original trilogy ending and the new trilogy beginning, and it was a completely different fan base. Now, those fans had parents that were like, "Oh, we're definitely going to go see the new Star Wars movies." Well, the unfortunate thing was the traditional fans were like, That was horrible. And the new fans were like, oh my gosh, I got to see that again. You know, and it's so, and that's exactly what happened. They got the hooks in with the right crowd, and the series lived on.
Riddick.
And that was my second example. That was going to be my closing example, was when Universal...
I'm good at this game.
Yeah, when Universal dropped Riddick, Chronicles of Riddick, after what, in their opinion, was a failed movie. I love the entire series of Riddick. The video games, the movies, the animated stuff. I love it. I think that it is a side of sci-fi that is, I don't know, it's just cool.
It's
Dark and gritty that you don't get to see all the time.
Exactly. However, when they dropped it, the next thing that Vin Diesel did was he called the director and he said, Universal is not going to allow us to make any more Riddick movies, and this story's not over. And they said, all right. And they got money together and they bought the rights, and the next movie comes out in September. And to me, I feel
I'm
like...
there.
Well, and I feel like it relates back to Prime's example. That's a movie, though. It's not a TV series. If it was a TV series and they had 5 or 6 years in between what had happened and what was going to happen, I think it would be a completely different relation to the post-works to what is coming out.
And as far as Star Trek is just as much a movie series as it is a TV series.
And I was actually going to make that point. I feel like they really tested the pool with Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yes,
Because
that's exactly what I felt like that was.
It came out before The Next Generation. However, the subsequent movies from, I believe, Search for Spock and on were during the exact same time that they were filming The Next Generation.
Mm-hmm. And my point, I agree. I think with the movie, it felt like they were putting their toe back in the water, because with Enterprise, they made a lot of fans mad because of what they did with the storyline.
New movie. The new Star Trek movie.
Right. The new Chris Pine.
Because he said the motion picture on purpose because he was referring to
No.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
The motion
the
picture.
Yeah.
And that's true too. Yes. Because I agree with you on actually I agree with both points. Without Star Trek, I'm actually a very passionate, and poor Josh has listened to me yell and scream. Star Trek was born in television. And to me, their most beautiful stories that they've told have always been in television, because they can continue a storyline. You can watch the progression of characters as they make these morphs over a 7-year period. They screwed up on Enterprise, and I'm still bitter with what they did with Enterprise, because they did this whole alternate timeline without talking alternate timeline. You do not do that. But now that they've come out with these movies, it almost feels like they're kind of putting their toe in, like, okay, will you accept a different group with the same name? Okay, you gave us the alternate timeline thing, all right.
Because we're very clear that this is an alternate timeline
Yes.
right from
and
the beginning.
they were very
the
careful
beginning.
about who they picked. Watch what they did. I mean, Zachary Quinto probably went through the most picky analyzation of anybody of you got to get Spock right. You know, you've got to get this right to get these people happy.
And the original series, again,
Right.
compared to when the newest Star Trek movie remake had come out,
Yes.
had been...
Oh yeah, 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
You know, 50, and each time though, there is an act of respect, of a handoff, that you feel like they're saying, "Hey, we're here, but we're old, and we're gonna die soon. If you want the story and the universe to continue, here you go." I'm sorry, that's what it feels like. I'm sorry, what's that anymore? 83?
On air.
He's in his low 80s now or something. Yeah. But you feel that sense of, you want the universe to continue. This is what it is. What are you going to do? And as a fan, I can respect that. Rather than shoving it down my throat, I'm not going to respect that. I'm going to say, screw you, and I'm going to run away. So that's why I was on the fence, because I think it depends on how it's done.
So I would say probably just from my opinion of this, some of our comments have probably been naive or idealistic compared to the way that the real world works.
That's
but,
okay. I'll disabuse you of that.
But I think this kind of stuff is very important to the people of our generation. Everybody here at this table is obviously very passionate about this. And so I think it'd be wise for people to take these things into consideration.
Captain Mal will fly again. I had to say it. Hey, at least Nathan
Maybe his
Fillion,
son or his grandson.
At least Nathan Fillion respects everything that was about it being Malcolm Reynolds as it is, even to the point that on the show he's on now, Castle, in the first like season or two, they did this Halloween party and he dressed up as Captain Malcolm.
That's pretty funny.
It was hilarious.
Well, that's for the fans, and I respect that of the actor. I
Yes.
do.
Oh, and the actors in general, even Joss himself has made it clear we love the Firefly universe. We hated that it went away, but everyone's working right now.
Well, you got to think there's all kinds of stuff that happens like that.
Yeah.
Like when Dollhouse first started, if you watched any of Dollhouse, it's another Joss Whedon TV series. In the first episode of Dollhouse, they are using a chick to be a hostage negotiator, and the guy who hires her says, well, I wouldn't expect them to send such a pretty girl to be a hostage negotiator. Pretty girls make people uneasy, yada, yada. I was thinking more of like the fatherly figure, like, Edward James Olmos. I mean, it's just neat how they just, in series that are completely unrelated, they just nod at all the fans that follow Joss Whedon, that follow. It's like a cult following.
Yeah, and it's a lot like J.J. Abrams and Once Upon a Time, where they have all the Lost references in Once Upon a Time with the Apollo bar and a lot of the same actors in there. So
Yeah, that happens. You see actors following directors and writers and
yeah,
Johnny Depp.
Bruce Campbell.
and friggin' what's his name from the Lone Ranger? Johnny Depp. Following,
Johnny Depp?
Yeah, following
Tim
Burton around.
I know Demery. I know.
So
I had a
stop
brain
making Tim Burton
freeze.
So on the, I'm going to wrap up.
Oh, good.
Please.
I know. I thought it was good though.
It's been a great episode.
been a
We're at
really good
almost
episode.
80 minutes, so
So hopefully you
We're
have
sorry.
hung in
not.
the duration. And if we were too scatterbrained for you, you can just blame Josh.
Yep.
So
Welcome back. Hello.
Ba-doop-cha.
Hey.
on the last episode, the ladies, I don't know, Deb, if you were here, but the ladies and gentlemen established that if you write it, it shall come through Kickstarter. Maybe. And today I want to establish, it's been a while since I've had one of these.
Oh.
But I want to establish, and you can thank Jeremy for this. But
helping.
But factors, don't you worry, that when we go to cancel the established facts, we will let you know.
And it ain't yet.
Stay tuned for our year 2 pre-Gen Con episode. Wait, year 3? Oh my god. Year 3.
Yes, it's here.
You're getting old.
Maybe this is
Yeah.
our last show.
Are you like 80 now?
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Goodbye.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.